the episode,
Mm-hmm.
but I still don't give a shit about Space King.
I mean, Space King is a better storytelling universe than Warhammer 40K.
It's not, but it is an excellent mockery of modern Games Workshop.
Well, why don't you think it's better?
For the same reasons I don't like Pathfinder. Space King is only good in comparison to the material that it mocks. It doesn't actually have depth or anything interesting in it. It is literally just, we like 40K, but we don't like what we've done to it. So we're going to make our own 40K with hookers and blackjack and all the things we liked in it, which were there. But then we're going to ramp it up to 11 until it becomes not funny again. Because I will credit you, like, there are some funny bits. But there are also, already 4 episodes in, some incredibly predictable bits, which
Right,
are basically the guys at Flash Gets have exactly 2 jokes.
well, you see, here's the thing: is I thought this was very insightful as a parody of 40K. This particular episode.
Wait, somehow the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer analog, guest starring Charlie from Smiling Friends, is insightful.
Yes. Who were the
Okay.
misfit toy Psycho Warriors?
Right.
One's a sexual deviant, which is a common source of heresy in 40K. One is a
Ardent
is a rogue
capitalist.
is a rogue trader. Let's use the real terminology. It's a rogue
Right.
trader, and the other one is a psychic mutant.
Right.
And
Except all of those analogs that you just made, which do exist in 40K, are not statements on 40K. Those
the
are
whole,
statements on those are statements on 40K fans.
but it's also true in the actual books.
I mean, it is and it isn't. The joke that they are making about the actual material is an exaggeration of that material.
Yes, but that's why it's insightful, because it's exaggerated to the point that it peels away all the peripheral nonsense.
It's not peripheral nonsense. Okay? The problem in modern 40K, starting really when we boil it down with the introduction of the Tau, but more likely with Matt Ward and his spiritual liege, Grey Knights are awesome bullshit, is that modern Corpo Slop 40K wants to turn it from a grimdark dystopia where everything boils down to zero. So why give a shit because it's all going to burn? A frankly fun but nihilistic interpretation of reality into a noble, dark, bright setting where glorious heroes for the Imperium fight evil bad guys. But the problem is everyone's an evil bad guy. Everyone's an evil bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that the fan base is so fucking toxic that they can't have a reasonable conversation about it. Because they can't.
And also, I think King Space was an additional interesting idea that 40K could never actually address. What if the God Emperor of humanity didn't die in the battle with Horus? What if that's a golden lie that we've been told? What if the Emperor is actually out there?
Except we know that is true.
Well,
Literally, I saw a clip yesterday. They were talking to one of the old heads who made the game, who's probably going to die very soon. And he said, in no uncertain terms, that the corpse sitting on the throne is not the physical body of the Emperor. It is a dodge. The entire sacrificing thousands of psychers every day to power the Astronomicon is a dodge.
Yes.
The whole religion is false, which means that the Emperor is a psychic presence out there in space. It didn't die, it's just been torn into a dozen pieces, which is not a surprise.
But I mean, what if instead of that, the Emperor's just alive out there. I mean, it took him.
I mean, that's the joke.
It took him 30,000 years to figure out how to get to where he was, and then things went horribly wrong. So he needs to figure out how to fix it.
I mean, that's the joke.
And so we have King Space, who wanted to have, a pluralistic, modern, democratic society where all of the misfit toy psycho warriors could all get together. Hey, well, I mean, the furry fella is Joe, aka Rune Knight. He's been on here.
What's all this?
And hey, we got some people.
We got people. It's actually funny because Ayrton's not here. Ayrton's girlfriend has changed, or rather, his wife has changed her name on the Twitch space. She is apparently Bob Ross's furry squirrel,
Yeah.
and I kind of want an explanation of that name.
But also, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer story was interesting because it, continued the character arc of all the characters in our core unit of Psycho Warriors. See, Bryce the Imaginator is an asshole.
See, I mean, yes, Bryce is an asshole, and quite frankly, when Ty and I watched it this morning, we spent a lot of time just screaming at the screen, "Fuck you, Bryce." But having said that, I do think you're really trying to polish what is a very mid product, because the fact of the matter is that if there is one thing that I must credit this holiday special for, one success that needs to be stated and not overlooked, right? It's quite frankly, it's a damn good Christmas special.
It is.
And this is pertinent in a really sad way, because for a while there, and I do mean for a long while there, I was really depressed by Christmas specials, because as a kid I grew up with the best Christmas specials, which are still the best Christmas specials. And then as a young person, in my teen years, going into my adult years, we had about a decade of really cynical, hollow, bland, unfunny Christmas specials that I fucking hate.
I mean, the point of Kingsmas is to come together in brotherhood to hunt down heretics and traitors.
Right. Get together with your friends and your family and you hate together. Even Hate Monger can get behind that.
I mean, Hate Monger is arguably the best character. Although
except when the guys over at Flash Kits decide to do the exact same thing that they're mad at other people doing, and using Hate Monger as a voice box to espouse bullshit political takes.
Well, no, that's because that's the joke. That's the punchline for Hate Monger.
No, it's supposed to be a joke, and in the show it's a joke. But then in between episodes, while they're making content, they produce little shorts with Hate Monger that are not jokes. They are literally just, we're going to use this hateful character for political screeds that I didn't fucking ask for.
Now, you see, I find them jokes, but that's just me.
But I think that these days we have a lot of people who have done exactly what I've been complaining was going to happen for a while, which is that dividing line between actually held belief and ironic cynicism has become so thin that they've just decided to be masks off right now. And I do not like it. I am not here for it. I want it to go away. I don't want to be here for this.
Well, Joe, I go into the iDubbbz thing explaining meta irony and how we're in meta ironic cynicism, but I don't want to do that.
Well, because we don't have Ayrton here to play the clip so that I can claim that it's commie gobbledygook. Because everything you just said sounded like a fucking mental hernia.
Because it is. But if we're going to really talk about polishing something that's mid, they made a Five Nights at Freddy's sequel.
We're going to talk about Predator Badlands some more?
No. They made a Five Nights at Freddy's sequel.
Yep. They might have made it. I'm not going to watch it.
Well, I mean, I watched it, and
What it's a very simple question. What did they possibly do to make it better than the incredibly mid first one?
Well, it wasn't better than the first one.
Then it already has failed.
So, what if there was another murder at another Freddy Fazbear's?
Okay.
And what if that murder involves another animatronic who's not one of the main animatronics we saw in the first movie?
Okay.
And what if one of those animatronics needed to get out of that facility to do a Freddy Krueger style killing of the people that led to her being killed and trapped in an animatronic?
Okay.
And so the main character, little girl from the original movie, goes there and types in some code so the evil robots can go out and murder people.
Okay.
And the main character, female protagonist. I'm sorry, Papa Church.
Papa Church is apparently dying of the plague. He got in the. Did you get in that bad nog?
But so
I like this mental image that the church has basically been sitting around drinking bad eggnog.
I mean, he did hear I was talking about a Rian Johnson movie, so it's possible he may have taken himself out to avoid that.
He literally was like, I could either talk about Rian Johnson or I can get the plague. And he just immerses himself in the Black Death.
So, the main female lead, right. I don't remember her name, and I'm not going to remember her name. She's dealing with the trauma of the fact that her father is a psycho murderer who made a chain of robot-themed restaurants to murder people. And that she's always going to be trapped by his legacy. And all of these events were set up plot twist by her brother, who's okay with the family murder robot legacy.
So here's the thing. I said okay a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And on one level, it's the meme. I am One Punch Man. Okay, but there's another element here, which is everything you have described, which I'm going to give credit to, is someone really trying to make an interesting Five Nights at Freddy's narrative. They're trying.
Mm-hmm.
Is so fucking pedestrian that I just don't care.
Well,
right.
There was also a subplot where the teacher was discriminating against the little girl for wanting to make a robot because she's a girl. And so the evil robot murdered him because he was a sexist.
Oh, so now we have murderous Riri Williams. Got it. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But no, here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting at. The Five Nights games were interesting because of the world building across games. This sort of slow burn mystery.
Now you see,
right?
I have almost no knowledge of the games.
No, that's fine. You don't need it. I'm not going to go into it very deeply. What I'm going to say is that it was also a limited run interest. Okay? The succession of lore videos and basically giving MatPat a career ultimately led to its dissolution. Once we knew what the fuck was going on, we didn't care.
But that's just a theory. A film theory.
You guys don't see it, but I'm currently pulling up an airline because I'm going to use money I don't have to go to Florida. I'm going to kill Larry. It's going to happen. I'm going to murder a Karasoth and I'm going to save his kitten. So, if you see me on the FBI's Most Wanted, you know what I did. So anyway, no, I'm just saying that over time and across situations, as the mystique wore off, as it became more of a machine, more of an assembly line, we stopped caring. But it wasn't bad yet. Then they decided to throw a snit and drive the original creator out of the gaming sphere because he dared to use his American rights to support a super PAC. Do I think it's a good thing? No, but it is his right. Yeah, he can be an idiot. It's his money. He made it. You gave him the money. What the fuck? Right?
Mhm.
So Five Nights is now a property divorced from its original creator, who's still alive. That
Owned
is
by
like
Blumhouse.
owned by Blumhouse. And they're like, well, we've got to make a movie out of it. We have to make a property. We need a Five Nights franchise. No, we don't. We need a Five Nights cinematic universe. No, we don't. And then they, to be fair, and I'm going to be extremely fair, they made a good movie. That first movie had no right to be as halfway decent as it was. Is it mid? Yes. Was it better than bad? Yes. It really
Mhm.
was. Okay? They were building up to something. And then in the last moments, when they reveal the big bad, right? They screwed the landing. They literally screwed the landing with a line, right? Because the big bad says, "I always come back," before the Springtrap suit kills him. Spoilers for a movie that people have fucking seen. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, why does he do that? Because it's in the game. Because they have to. They had to do a knock-on effect to tell you this is a Five Nights game because they think that the viewers are idiots. It's like, seeing the giant robots was not enough, right? We needed the reference. We needed you to know who it was and why they were doing what they were doing, right? So
Mhm.
now here we are. We're gonna have a sequel. It's gonna be another Five Nights. It's gonna be different and bigger and wider and do different things. And it all has to tie into the original material. It all has to support the presupposed pretext.
Mhm.
And as you say, we start with our story. What if there was a place called Five Nights at Freddy's? There was a Freddy Fazbear's. Okay.
Mhm.
And bad things happened there. Okay. But at a different Freddy Fazbear's. Okay, so now there's a second location. Is it directly connected to the first? No, it's only another location.
Well, I mean,
Okay, what happened
it's
there?
kind of connected to the first.
And
I mean,
it's
they
like,
are owned by the
it's
same company.
right, but it's like, okay, what happens there? A bad thing. A bad thing like in the first movie? Maybe. Is it the same bad guy? Are we going to expand the lore out and reveal just how sweeping his mass murder spree was? Kinda, maybe. Maybe you should come watch. Okay, I'm checking it out. What is it? There's another robot. Why do I care? Because it's a robot. It's another robot. It's a new robot. We made it. It's our robot. It's the Bloomhouse Freddy Fazbear robot from Five Nights at Freddy's TM Bear. And it's like, fuck you. It's just, because none of this matters. I
Hey,
am literally Carl from Aqua Teen. None of this matters. None of this
hey,
matters.
hey! This new Freddy Fazbear's though, it did have a little river with the riverboat ride inside it. That's pretty dope.
Right. So we're gonna append, having already done the Chuck E. Cheese imagery. Now we're gonna add on a little bit of the Splash Mountain imagery because you can't go to Splash Mountain anymore. Is that the idea?
Yeah, basically.
So this is Faz Mountain. It's going to be a cheese fountain that you can ride down. Cool. Although, to be fair, as someone who does not work for Bloomhouse and did not work on the Fazbear film, this sequel you're talking about, if they had had a Freddy Fazbear cheese fountain that you could ride down in a giant log, that would be kind of cool.
and both
Just,
of these lo- and both of these locations are a short distance away from the main character's house.
of course. Is it possible, in fact, that the reason the Fazbear franchise collapsed is not because of the Bite of '87, but because that it was 17 locations in about 10 miles?
I mean, that sounds likely. And the little girl is obsessed with the robots, and
Right.
that the ghost children inside the robots were her friends, and she could make
I've
real
all right.
alive
I
child
have to ask a
friends.
question. I have to ask a question. Is the little girl blonde?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask is because in one of the latter games that is actually a distaff property, has nothing to do with the main game line, there is a evil security guard who is a crazy woman that is obsessed with the robots,
Gross.
right? Yeah, and it's like, oh, we're just introducing that in our myth arc. Because again, all of this is supposed to lead into myth. All of this is supposed to be expanded world building. Everything is going to be in the next sequel. It's like I didn't watch Lost the first time. What the fuck makes you think I'm going to watch a mystery box now that is an annual, every couple of years film series?
I mean, I only watched it because I said, well, I mean, I watched the first one, and it is in our strike zone.
I mean, that's the combination of factors. Is you watched it because it is the time of the watching, and because you're here. If we weren't here, you probably would have checked out, or you would have watched it and go, yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
Um,
not have watched it otherwise.
I mean, as a for instance, I know we've talked about it already, but I'm waiting around until I can get to see a version of Zootopia that is not something somebody stole on a camera,
Mhm.
right?
And then we will
Um,
talk more about furries
and
and
yeah, and then
scalies.
I will say, look, I've seen Zootopia. Whether or not I think it's good or not, um, because apparently this is now a show where we talk about furriness.
I mean, we did that last time, and it worked out okay.
Well, yeah, but then the episode before that, I mentioned that anthropomorphic comic.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
clearly, the furriness is insidiously expanding.
But
Like a
I want to talk about an unplanned movie that I watched this morning,
okay,
and add this to this one. Is not normally in our strike zone, so it's a movie called Joe Kelly. It's a movie starring Adam Sandler and everybody's favorite doctor from ER.
Mandy Patinkin,
No, the one who got George Clooney.
George Clooney. Okay,
So here is the really deep, groundbreaking acting that George Clooney did. He's playing Joe Kelly, a legendary Hollywood actor who's one of the last of the real movie stars, who's going through a midlife crisis as the director who got him his career died. And his youngest daughter is about to go to
okay.
college.
So I need to clarify. Are you sure it's Joe Kelly and not Jay Kelly?
Might be Jay Kelly.
Yes,
That, that
I only mentioned because I was pulling it up. I was like, I did not heard about this, and I was having some trouble finding it because there are other Joe Kellys in history. Like there's a pitcher and there's a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
screenwriter. No, this is
It's
Jay
Jay Kelly.
Kelly, a 2025 comedy drama with
Right.
Sadler and Clooney.
Now the thing one of the things I'm going to say about this movie that I really liked, and it's something I
Hmm.
really liked in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Adam Sandler and George Clooney clearly have a chemistry together.
Right,
In some alternate Hollywood, these guys should have done like 8 or 9 movies together.
right.
And this is one of the movies where Adam Sandler is actually remembering that, hey, I can actually be a good actor when the material calls for it.
So it's literally proving that one about the diamonds seller is not a one off. He actually is an actor when he wants to be.
Oh no, there are several movies he has done where he has demonstrated good, solid acting.
Right, but I'm just saying, like most recently, he did the one about the diamonds, right?
He did Happy Gilmore too.
And then his next film was Happy Gilmore 2, which is a
Well, I mean,
callback, and
he's done
people would.
some other movies, but yes, basically.
But I'm saying people could imply it's like, oh, he can do a serious movie once, but he can't do a serious movie twice. It's like, well, no, he
Well, I mean,
can. He
he
has.
he did that Punch Drunk Love, which was a serious movie.
Yeah.
He's done some serious movies,
Yeah.
but the gist of the movie is Adam Sandler is his manager slash super agent type guy,
Okay.
and it's his job to hold Jay Kelly's shit together because Jay Kelly's a neurotic mess.
See, that's actually an interesting inversion of expectation. It's a subversion. They subverted
Yes.
my expectations. Because you would think with this combination of people that George Clooney would play the very put together corpo suave guy because he's got that
That look.
smooth look, yeah. And then you'd think that Adam Sandler would play the very successful but hyper neurotic weirdo.
No.
So no, inverting this is actually really smart. This is well done. Hey, Ryan. Hey, Ryan, if you're watching this, if somehow, somewhere, you're on YouTube and you just happen to come across our show, this is how you do it, asshole!
And at the funeral of his mentor, who got him his start, his first big break, he's mulling over to himself. Why didn't I lend my name to help him make that one last movie? Why?
Right.
Why didn't it really wouldn't have cost me anything? And he's being introspective, and then he meets his old buddy from acting school, and he kind of guilts him into going out for a drink. And they go out for a drink, and you know, old friendships where people liked each other, but over time that alienation has grown into a little bit of bitterness kicks in, and then there's a fight that's not really gone into any detail, but it starts George Clooney's character spiraling into his midlife crisis.
Mm.
He's supposed to do a big movie with some hot young directors, and he's decided to fuck off to chase his daughter, who's going to a jazz festival in Paris.
And Adam
And
Sandler is chasing him, going, "You can't do that."
well, no. What he's doing is he's buying him time, and he's bringing his whole entourage with him,
mm. Mm.
and he's just basically babysitting him until he gets his shit together.
Right.
And then he finds out that his daughter is pivoting and going to Italy, and he had an offer to be given a career retrospective presentation by a film festival in Tuscany. And he blew that off, but he's like, no, let's do that. That'll totally justify my being there. And his dad comes in, and his dad is played by Stacy Keach, which I think that was an excellent casting decision, having Stacy Keach play
Oh,
George Clooney's father.
Stacy Keach has become like a go-to TV dad. He is very good in a lot of things.
But this framing allows him, because he's feeling retrospective as he's reaching his mortality, he's looking back on the fact he fucked over his friend, or at least he feels he fucked over his friend. So his friend went and was going for a huge tryout for this director. And he said to his buddy, he said, hey, why don't you change the line to say this? He's like saying, no, you can't do that at this level. I'm just lucky enough to be heard in the tryout. So the actor playing young George Clooney goes in, reads the line, helping his friend out. And he then asks, hey, I know I'm not on the list, but can I read too? And he reads it, and he does the line with the additions he suggested in. The director, like the kid's moxie, had him read some more, and then cast him in the part. His former friend, that was the end of his acting dreams. He became a child therapist. He later made friends with one of George Clooney's daughters on Facebook and directed her to a psychologist to help her deal with all of her problems from the fact that her daddy was a rich and successful actor but never spent any time with her. And George Clooney very reluctantly went to meet with his daughter and the shrink, but the shrink was reading a letter from that she wrote as a 10-year-old girl, and that was the point where he's like, going, listen, that guy's a weirdo. That's like a crank thing. I can't listen to that. Whereas his other daughter wanted to be all into science and everything. She goes to Paris. She meets a French filmmaker who is extremely generous to a popcorn slop movie star, which is very weird for a Frenchman. But I'm going to allow this thing, because it was actually a funny reference about the movie itself. So I will give it I'll give that one a little bit of grace. And he talked his daughter into filming like a small independent movie in Sicily. And his daughter tells him off saying, "Listen, I always wanted to be an actor, but I knew after what happened to my sister, you didn't want me to be an actor, so I focused on science." And then he let her go. He tries to bring his dad to this, retrospective for his career. His dad has a massive heart attack and says, "Fuck this shit, I need to go home." His agent loses his second biggest client over him being a needy, narcissistic asshole. And he's having trouble at home. And he says, "You know what? Fuck you, Jay. We're done." And so he's stripped down from this powerful actor to being a vulnerable man who's been separated from everyone who ever cared about him or cares about him. And he sees his work. And he feels he was all kind of worth it. And that's how the movie ends.
Quite frankly, there is a rudiment of a even better, funnier movie in this movie
Mhm.
that I was
Well-
imagining as you were describing it.
Well, focus more on the drama side, obviously.
Right. But just imagine in this alternate reality where George Clooney and Adam Sandler do 5 or 6 films.
Mhm.
If they did some modern versions, not remakes, but like their own version, they're different characters, but they're having the same kinds of adventures
Mhm.
as the road movies.
You know, that is something that I think Hollywood should actually do. Unironically, they should cast 2 actors who have a broad range of talent. I mean, Seth MacFarlane is kind of a smarmy fuck, but that dude can croon the fuck out of some music.
Right. Right. You get a Seth MacFarlane, and then you get a Heavy who is no jokes, but he is capable of jokes and knows the homework basically. And
So
you
you're
say,
saying
all
like
right,
so you're saying like John Cena?
uh, here's the thing. I don't know if I could believe John Cena as a singer or as a smoothie because he's kind of a block of meat. He's a big guy.
Mhm.
Very much like The Rock is, even though The Rock is thinned out for a role, is very much a big guy. You need someone that's a more believable round talent for this hypothetical. But either way, you
Mhm.
get these two characters, you slap them together, and it's like, look, you're gonna go on some reasonably unrealistic adventures, and you're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to film it, and then we're going to put it out there into the world, and that's just the goal.
Mhm.
Because the road movies were never about getting anywhere, not really, and they were never really about actually attaining anything. They're not they're not about the plot. The plot of the
There's
road movies are contrivance.
just like Elvis movies.
Right. It was about we got Bing and we got uh
Bob Hope.
Bob Hope, and they're gonna sing and they're gonna dance and they're gonna be charming on the way to a place.
Mhm. Mhm.
And people loved those movies.
They did. They did. So also, I saw the latest episode of Pluribus. Have you had the opportunity to watch any of Pluribus?
I have not pluribus.
Well, I would recommend it. It's a very good sci-fi show.
Mm.
So Carol, our protagonist, who has alienated herself from the hive mind that the rest of humanity is.
Right. I am familiar with the existence of this show. Farrell Herstonian did a thing about it, telling people to go see it.
I also did a thing about it on this show, telling people to see it.
Yeah.
Um, so Carol, who not only has alienated herself from the hive mind,
Right.
she's alienated herself from almost all of the humans who aren't in the hive mind.
Right.
Discovered that they are in fact eating people. And she goes to present it to the only one of the people who's not part of the hive mind that she knows is in the United States.
Right.
And this is the guy from Mauritania who's kind of a charming rogue. And he has like a James Bond alike happening in his Vegas hotel for his own
Right.
entertainment. But then all all of the people in the hive mind have to leave Las Vegas because they know Carol is coming.
Right.
But he stays because he kind of feels bad for her. And she goes to present him this horrifying realization when he says, "Oh," and he pulls up a video that John Cena had pre-recorded for Carol to explain HDP, or human-derived protein. See, the hive mind can't willingly contribute to harm to any living thing, including plants. So they process decaying food stocks and dead bodies into a protein supplement. And Carol asked the other unaffected person, saying, like, "Are you okay with that?" And he's like, "I'm troubled," which was not the emotional context she wanted.
Now, see,
And
it's funny. This is very funny to me. We are 40 minutes in,
Mhm.
okay, and we started with Space King,
we did.
and you were trying to assert how Space King was a surprisingly deep, interesting narrative about how we feel about Warhammer and how it's better than Warhammer. And I'm like, no, it's not deep because it's not. It's superficial tripe, but it's superficial tripe that is screaming about something we don't like in what should be a better product. And now we're on the other end of that spectrum.
Mhm.
I am less interested in the specifics of Pluribus's plot than what Pluribus says about how we perceive society through the vein of a science fiction, which is what
Yes,
speculative
which is
fiction has always been.
yes, this is a
Uh,
very good science fiction show.
because I am interested in the fact that where formerly science fiction, we talked about Star Trek on this show a fair amount,
Mhm.
was aspirational and talking about the fundamental progress man was going to make towards being a more mature species.
I mean, this is
We're,
something that would be
right,
straight out of the old school Twilight Zone or Outer
right,
Limits.
right. Pluribus is putting out that basically we now exist because we that is one of the debates. Do we or do we not exist in a monoculture? Right.
Well, we could argue about a monoculture later. That's
Right. Well, I'm not getting into the politics. I'm saying this is just what the show has put out. Right. The idea that there are people who perceive themselves as being in a hive mind,
well, no, they
and there
are
are
in a hive mind.
people who perceive themselves as not being in a hive mind.
No,
Right.
they are actually in a hive mind.
No,
They don't
Larry,
perceive themselves as such.
Larry, abstract. You know what I'm
Yeah,
putting
yeah, yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
know in the show they're actually in a hive mind.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. But what the show is saying is that we have in reality people who believe that they're in a hive mind.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, people who believe they live outside the hive mind,
Mm-hmm.
who have to share this planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that on some level, this divide naturally leads to a ideological cannibalism
Mm-hmm.
because we consume each other,
Which is sort of what John Cena was talking about.
right? Because
That was why
remember,
I brought up John Cena in the last review, because I
well,
figured that was a good transition to set up.
because remember, we're also not talking about living cannibalism. It's actually worse. It's actually more subtle. It's the cannibalism of human material with decaying material. So
Mm-hmm.
it's in fact the cannibalism of death. It's the reusing of old ideas and material
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we don't make new material anymore. Making new material might hurt someone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what one of the things John Cena said in his presentation, it says, "We're not going to force you to take this. We know you wouldn't prefer to take it, and if we had a better option, we wouldn't take it either."
Right.
So after this presentation, the other unaffected human tells Carol that there's a bigger problem. They estimate within 10 years, all the people in the hive mind will be dead, and probably the rest of humanity too.
Yeah.
because they can't grow crops, and the unaffected humans who talk to each other were all like, "Well, what if we make robots to do the farming?" And they were like, "Good notes, but we would have to build those robots, and we can't build those robots because they would harm living things."
It's actually funny because you'd think the hive mind would have been aware of this, being a hive mind.
Well, they were, but they wanted the unaffected humans to feel like they had some agency.
Right, but here's the thing, because this is another ancient science fiction trope that most people should know by now. You always hear politicos rant back and forth about unity versus diversity, right?
Mhm.
And then they try to apply it to areas that it wildly does not fit, right? Actual biodiversity, that
Mhm.
is a diverse range of biological life forms in an ecosystem, is a strength, right?
In fact, the lack of
And
biodiversity is why the potato famine happened.
right, the lack of biodiversity is bad. By that same token, it's like if everyone is in the hive mind
Mhm.
and the hive mind cannot hurt other life forms because that would be wrong,
Mhm.
then in fact everyone being in the hive mind is fundamentally bad for you,
Mhm.
because you can't do it with two, but you need a fundamental number of people not in the hive mind who could maintain the planet on your behalf.
Now, here is the interesting thing in the show setting.
Yeah,
The hive mind did not want to consume the whole planet so quickly.
right.
They were forced to do so because world governments became aware of them and they had problems. So the hive mind mass connected people as a self preservation tactic.
Right.
So they weren't able to figure out why these people were unaffected. That was one of the plots where Carol was trying to trick them and force them into telling her.
Yeah.
She did, in fact, trick them into telling her that there
They
was a
don't know.
way. No, that there was a way to reverse the process.
Mm.
But they didn't want to tell her that, to the point that one of them almost died, and they evacuated the entire city of Santa Fe to leave her alone because they didn't know how to deal with her.
Right.
And so Carol found the only other unaffected person who's not connected to the ecosystem, an antisocial man in Paraguay who runs a storage facility.
Okay.
And who has been monitoring radio signals. And Carol sent him a video and the chance to restore humanity to normal. Made this antisocial. What do you call it when you're afraid of going outside?
He has agoraphobia. He's an agoraphobic.
Yeah, made this antisocial agoraphobic person be willing to go outside to save humanity.
Right.
That was how we ended the episode. So this is good science fiction.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people say, well, it's about AI. Well, it's not about AI. He said the director says. He said he wrote it before AI became a thing.
No, nothing.
Although,
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I haven't seen the show, and nothing I just described was about AI. It was about our interactions with how we consume perspective. That's
but the
that's
way
humans.
but the way the hive mind speaks is very reminiscent of the way Chat GPT speaks to people.
I mean, that's just coincidental.
Right. And he also, as part of his marketing, says no AI was used. So that's why a lot of people think that's a swerve.
Right.
But it's a really good show. I highly recommend people watch it. Now we're going to talk about Wake the Dead, the third and I hope last of the Benoit Blanc movies, also known as Knives Out. So, what do you remember the first Knives Out movie?
Uh, Give me a minute. The first Knives Out movie is the most conventional drawing room mystery because it has a murderous family of
Mhm.
inheritors pointing fingers at each other at a mansion.
And there's
So,
also the nurse who they also point fingers at.
right. And this is because the second film is about a bunch of murderous tech bros on an island.
Mhm.
However, both films basically have the same setup with small variations because this is Rian Johnson trying to tell you that drawing room mysteries suck because he doesn't get them.
And neither movie was interested in focusing on the mystery.
Right,
Glass Onion famously had a literal mystery box in its
right,
opening sequence that the audience viewpoint character smashed apart to get to the plot relevant part in the center,
right,
which is his way to let you know what he feels about what we're doing.
right.
So, Wake the Dead. It's also kind of sort of a drawing room mystery, but it doesn't really focus on the drawing room element of it all that much. And it opens in the middle. It opens in the middle because Benoit Blanc tells the accused to write a narrative about what happened so that he can read this narrative and use it to piece together the mystery.
So, real quick segue, I want to ask you a question because I'm tasting it with my brain.
Mhm.
As you were describing this, and I was thinking about the previous depictions of the Knives Out
Mhm.
series, uh, Daniel Craig's character is basically a himbo. He's a smart himbo, but he's a himbo, right?
I mean, I would say that's fair.
And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. The guy who plays Thor wanted to be a himbo. And then I started very quickly cataloging all the himbos I have seen in media recently.
Mhm.
And as you recall, last episode I was saying, we really need to think of a term for this age. But I was positing possibly the age of disdain. Is another running up name possibly the himbo age? Is it the age of himbo? Because it's not that we just need smart female characters, but specifically that we need, quote, lovable, stupid male characters.
So Benoit Blanc is not stupid.
He's not stupid, but he has himbo behaviors, or he is surrounded by himbo characters who are
Yes.
stupid on his behalf.
Yes. So the accused is a
Yeah.
priest. Grew up in a bad part of town. Did some boxing.
Okay.
Murdered somebody in the boxing ring. Now he
Okay.
wasn't arrested for murdering this person, of
Right.
course, but
So it wasn't murder. It was a wrongful and accidental death.
no,
Okay. He
he
went in to murder him.
so he because he's become a Catholic priest explains the story thusly. He knew he was killing this man, but he did it anyway because at that point in his life he had hatred in his heart for this person.
Okay.
So
If they didn't arrest him, he legally didn't commit murder, but that's between you and your Jesus.
exactly, and he continues to every so often get a little violent and a little impulsive. In the Irish Catholic tradition, that's not unusual for priests.
Yeah, that happens.
And as his punishment from his diocese, he is sent to this small struggling church where Josh Brolin is playing an extremist Catholic priest
Oh
who
boy.
who preaches hellfire, damnation, speaks about the harlot whore. Now, we're going to put a pin in this for a moment. Rian Johnson's a Mormon.
Yeah. Here's the
Rian
thing.
Johnson,
I'll be clear before we dig into this. That shouldn't matter, but it's probably going to.
he doesn't understand how a Catholic church would attribute this negative connotation to a sinful woman. Harlot whore sounds like something a Baptist preacher would say. Someone in a less scholarly church. Wouldn't you agree with that, Joe?
Not entirely, but that's only because the problem is not a misunderstanding of church doctrine. It is a
Church culture. Church
it's
culture.
a misunderstanding of church culture, but it's also, as we're saying, Rian Johnson's a Mormon, but this is something you'd get from a lefty leaning atheist as well, right?
Mhm.
When they go to do the fire and brimstone preacher, they have kind of a stock language they use for
Mhm.
the identifiers, and it's that language that is wrong, right?
So
The idea of a priest, a Catholic priest, advocating that one should not give into certain behaviors and might even be a little bit of fire about it is not wrong. The idea that the priest who is the has the personal mad on for this subject and is going to just walk around and growl about it, that is a far more Protestant image.
oh, it gets worse. It gets worse, Rune.
Oh, I'm sure.
So you see, this priest, the fire and brimstone priest, is actually the son of the harlot whore. And it was his father, who was a priest, who, before he became a priest, had an indiscretion and led to this woman being born, established this church. And he had some money, which he's portrayed as a non ordered priest. So he could, in theory, have some money. I don't remember the church's exact regulations on that. I know if he was portrayed as an ordered priest, that would be a problem. And that money went missing. The woman went wild and mad and, vandalized the church. And the church is very stark, very barren, uh, very much the skeleton of a church. So what I have to say about this movie is it knows how to tell a visual story like that. You feel the themes and the tone when you look at the church. And so our titular audience viewpoint protagonist character becomes the assistant minister or father or whatever, however they classify the Catholic Church. And he gives his fellow priest a confession where he confesses to some relatively pedantic sins, including the
Right.
sin of masturbation, which will be important later. Then we are introduced into the drawing room crew. We have Jeremy Renner playing a corrupt doctor who's an alcoholic and is using the priest as an attempt to try to salvage his marriage and get his wife to come back to him. We have an author who has lost his way. I feel like it's kind of a stab at Jeremy at Mamet a little bit, and how this writer has become enamored by this fire and brimstone Catholic preacher.
Mm.
There's a lawyer who's the daughter of the lawyer who represented the father priest, the father of our current priest character, and she has an adopted son who burned out of politics and has now become an influencer. Because Rian Johnson is really obsessed with influencer culture, even though he doesn't know how to write about it or understand it. He is obsessed with it. And he keeps trying to make the influencer character work in his movies, and it just doesn't.
Right.
And the young priest is trying to connect with these people because they're the core, the calloused core of this church. And he's willing to try to open up to a more loving, nurturing Jesus to these people. And if he can do that, he can, kind of heal this church and rebuild this church. There's also the old lady who runs the church office and a rich lady that the priest is promising, you know, if we pray enough and we work through this enough, I'm sure God will grant you a miracle, which is not how Catholic priests work.
Well, for one, miracles are not transactional. Uh, if
Uh,
if they were, our world would be very different.
I mean, that's how we got Protestants, is when the church thought that miracles were transactional.
Right. And that's the thing, is that the mainstream Catholic Church does not in fact ordain that the hand of God will move in your direction through good works. Good works are good for their own right, but they don't earn you points. You
They do
can't
not.
buy your
No,
way into heaven anymore.
they don't. But of course, this rich lady is the one who's been basically funding the church.
Right.
So things escalate. The troubled young priest gets a little inebriated, and then the older priest does a service, goes into a closed door room, which isn't technically closed, but nobody was looking, and gets stabinated and is dead. And into all of this, the young priest is in despair. Everybody thinks he murdered the old guy who has an internet following. And Benoit Blanc randomly shows up to save the day. So that is the setup for the actual whodunit portion of the movie. Now, based on everything I've told you, and based on this being a Rian Johnson product, who killed the priest?
Uh, I couldn't tell you, because I was taken by the way more interesting story that could have been done here that wasn't.
Mhm.
And I mean, I heard you. I heard all the words, but I kind of lost the plot because you just introduced so many people and so many disparate, non-connected materials that it is a lot of slop. It's a lot of soup.
Well, they are all connected, and they
Yeah,
all are relevant, but they're
right.
kind of not.
Yeah.
So, the old priest, the priest who established the church, has a crypt that has a Lazarus door on it. Do you know what a Lazarus door is, Rune?
I do not.
It's a door that cannot be opened from the outside without
Hmm.
heavy equipment, but it can be opened from the inside in the off chance someone were to be raised from the dead, or somebody might have been sleepy and we didn't have proper embalming techniques. Now, when this was introduced, my mind immediately went to what happens in the plot, which is Josh Brolin's character isn't actually dead at the point in the movie where he is killed. He gets killed later in the movie because they needed to make the movie tidy.
So as I was sitting here, like I said, I had a
Mhm.
vision of what a much better movie would be.
Mhm.
But I was actually also strolling around. I finally found it. I have two comparisons for what's wrong with this movie. Okay. The first is when I was talking about this idea of there's a very much better movie that could have been made here that wasn't. Uh, I assume you've seen the god awful Jack Black comedy Nacho Libre.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the historical figure that's actually based on?
Yes.
Right. So I do not watch Count Dankula more often than not. I am familiar with Dank's existence, but somewhere in my feed, quite randomly, this 8-month-old Mad Lads that he did about Fray Tormenta, the priest who became a luchador, uh, came up in my feed, and I listened to it, and I was taken by the depth of the story. That this
Mhm.
guy was basically a piece of shit druggie who tried to get clean, engage in some underhandedness because it's Mexico, you have to. Became a priest, then became an operator of an orphanage, became a luchador to fund that orphanage, and succeeded fantastically. Right? So you have this story. You have this fire and brimstone piece of shit, Josh Brolin, who is basically grinding this church down to nothing, right? So so the Catholic Church, wisely, as the Catholic Church has done before, says, you know what, we're going to send you a new priest. We're going to send you we're going to send you some help, because they can't remove the asshole, but they can adjust things. So they send a troubled Irish priest with a propensity for answering problems with his fists. Why? Because literally he's a fighter. He has the personality for it. This is a guy who will go toe to toe with Mr. Fire and Brimstone and tell him to eat all of the Irish dicks he can. Right? And that is actually a really interesting movie. Right? The story of a priest who's on the downturn, who's at odds with his own religion, saving a church from the kind of person that harms people's faith and community. Right?
Yes.
That's a good movie that we didn't get. Right? But then the other component is that I figured out what Rian Johnson's trying to do, and the problem is he's already been bested. He was already owned. Because do you know what you've just described in the end here with the Lazarus door and the who's dead? Clue.
What? Yes, but I haven't gotten to who's dead yet.
But here's the thing, it's the Clue movie, right? Because the action spoilers for an old movie that has several different canonical endings. The one that's accurate is that Mr. Body is Mr. Body. Mr. Body killed Mr. Body because the actor whose name's out of my head, we love him so much. He was never dead. Frankenfurter killed him and it was never dead. It was a dodge the whole time. Right? And because the fun of that movie is that even though it is a comedy and it is mocking the genre, it is also leaning into that genre as hard as it can. It is lovingly taking you through all the steps of why you love the genre. Right? And that entire last act is the paragon of that genre. Right? Because that's what you're there for. You showed up for the mystery, you stayed for the interesting investigation, but you were here for that 11th hour, we're going to run around the house and talk about how the murder was done story. Because you like seeing the jigsaw puzzle all together.
That is what people like, except for Rian Johnson.
Rian Johnson wants to make the Clue movie, but he doesn't like mysteries. He hates the genre. So it's him snubbing his nose at Clue by saying, I'm going to do a better Clue, and then fucking sucking at it.
But what's weird is he's done 4 movies in the mystery genre. The mystery genre is the largest portion of his filmography.
I mean, jealousy is a powerful motivator, but okay, so there's the 3 Knives Out movies. What's the 4th thing? What was his 4th mystery?
It's the movie Brick, which is, imagine Sam Spade, but in a high school.
Okay.
And it doesn't do any of the things that make a high school movie interesting or entertaining, or any of the things that make a Sam Spade movie interesting or entertaining.
Wait a minute. All right. So this fucker did Looper. Looper's halfway decent. We talked about Looper.
Yes.
Right? Did Brick. He did Knives Out. He did Last Jedi. 90% of this man's filmography that I know about is trash that doesn't do anything well. Why the fuck is this man a respected filmmaker?
Because
how did he get where he is? Whose dicks did he suck?
Because he's very good at cinematography, and he knows how to make a movie on budget without any drama or bullshit.
So literally you're saying he can make a movie on budget, but he just can't make a good movie. He makes a pretty movie.
Yes. That is why Rian Johnson has the money that he does, and why he's as successful as he is.
This infuriates me. This infuriates me to no fucking end.
So, as Benoit Blanc goes about, we see
Also, just decided. Does this also explain why Dan Trachtenberg keeps getting Predator movies made?
yes, actually, it's the same thing.
Fuck.
Dan Trachtenberg knows how to make these movies on a budget, on time, without problems.
But can't make a good one for the life of him.
I mean, yes, that is in fact the situation. That is in fact the situation. So, as the movie proceeds, Benoit Blanc notices clues. The present the harlot whore was gifted was in a Fabergé case, and it had a
Whoa! Wait a minute. First of all, is she an actual harlot, or is this just the accusation?
She is the daughter of the founding priest of the church who allegedly was into harloting, whoring, drinking, and drugging.
Okay, so it's an opinion we don't know the proof of, but a Fabergé case.
Yes. Now,
take the case. Stop whoring. What the fuck?
it's not that high end of a Fabergé case. It's a low end Fabergé case.
It's still Fabergé. The name alone carries gravitas.
But my man, she opens it up, and there's a pillow in it with an indentation. Now, what would that tell you?
It's a pillow. That indentation is going to disappear almost immediately because you changed it. What? It's a pillow.
I mean, it didn't disappear immediately for some reason. We don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
What would be contained in a Fabergé case that might leave an indentation in a pillow?
Presumably an egg.
Or a gemstone.
Right.
Which is what it was. The priest took his family's dirty money and bought a giant-ass diamond.
Why?
Because he swallowed the diamond to take his family's dirty money with him to the grave.
So that the family could not have the dirty money.
Yes.
Excellent.
And he called the diamond Eve's apple.
No! We're right back to he's a Mormon. Have you never read the fucking Bible? No! Eve didn't make the apple. You just remove her name. You just call it the apple.
So, the harlot whore...
Fuck!
So the harlot whore, who in the opening sequence of the movie we're told is a villain, was in actuality tearing up the church because she wanted the goddamn money. She knew it was a gemstone because her harloting and whoring was her partying with people who could afford her expensive tastes. And she was beaten to death by the church lady, who was a little girl at the time.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah. But Benoit Blanc gets critical of the priest, who ignores certain details when he's retelling the story. That Josh Brolin's character was a raging alcoholic, which he doesn't tell in his narrative because he feels that's an inappropriate narrative. He omits that. Benoit Blanc, of course, realized he had omitted that. The mystery, in a nutshell, is the old woman.
Really, this description of things. Well, I'm going to let you finish. I'll let you finish, but first, I just want to say, is only just making me wish that the Dan Brown inspired, Tom Hanks led, Da Vinci Code films didn't suck so much rancid asshole.
But they did suck rancid asshole.
They did. But the thing is like, because I know that Benoit Blanc is an actual character from an actual book series with actual quality.
He's not.
I was told that he was a big thing over on the in the South.
He was something that Ryan Johnson made up.
Oh well, then fuck this, because I mean, literally, the entire time we've been having this conversation, not just this time, but every time he comes up, I keep thinking about how unfortunate the name Benoit Blanc is, because while Benoit is an actual name in French, it exists, right? It also has an unfortunate uh homophobic, yes, that's a word,
Mhm.
similarity to a sexual device,
Mhm.
right? And then of course, instead of balls, it's blanc, which is white, right? But is also a homophobe for blank, meaning nothing. So it's also that cognates to the is this man's name literally nothing toilet?
It's blessed white.
Right, which is more correct, but it's still unfortunate.
But the murder is thus: the
Yeah.
old lady confesses that she witnessed the last communion of the old priest, and he swallowed the diamond, put it inside him. Unfortunately, she thought she was confessing to the young Irish ruffian priest, but actually, she was confessing to Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin was like, "Fuck this shit! I'll just steal the diamond."
Okay, so here's the thing. That now that we've come around to it, I should have known that Josh Brolin was the bad guy, because of course Josh Brolin is the bad guy. He's the actual star we paid to be here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because Josh Brolin recently is seeing something of a resurgence, having been in several different movies of varying degrees of quality, but a lot of movies recently.
He was one of the good actors in the Dune books who I could clearly tell by his performance he had actually read the Dune books.
Right.
He understood the homework.
He was also in Sin City 2.
Hmm.
He was of course Thanos. He was in Jonah Hex. Not that anyone watched that piece of shit.
He was the bad guy
Uh
in The Running Man.
he's the bad guy in The Running Man. He was in the Old Boy remake. He has been in a lot of things.
Hmm. And he found this all out around the same time he found out that the biracial Republican influencer was actually his illegitimate son. And he decided he was going to take the diamond, fake his own death, rise from the dead, quote unquote, and then use the money from the diamond to finance a political campaign where he could become president.
Ow.
It does hurt the brain.
This is going to lead me back to trying again to sit down and read Fu Manchu.
But wait. We're not done with the convoluted murder plot.
Okay.
So, the priest rises from the dead, and the church lady sets something up with the groundskeeper, thinking, well, I can make him be like a saint, and God will make it work out. And she asked the doctor to assist him with faking his death. But the doctor is like, well, I could take this diamond and I could use it to fix my marriage to my whore wife. He doesn't call her a whore wife, but it's that vibe. The wife that cheated on him ran off. He could get money, bring her back. So he kills the loyal groundskeeper and kills Josh Brolin's character, and is planning to dissolve his body in a vat of medical grade acid.
Not Willie.
And the old lady, knowing all of this, murders him and dissolves him in the medical grade acid
Jesus
bath
Christ.
too. And in the denouncement, Benoit Blanc realizes the little old lady is going to die because she has a poison, which, again, all the clues are done very quickly. You have to be super duper paying attention to notice them. So Benoit Blanc says, well, golly gee willikers, I can't solve this one. This is all to set up the little lady coming back in to confess to the Irish ruffian priest that I did some bad things. I set up a plot that led to multiple people being murdered. I murdered the last one. I could really use some clemency with God. Could you help me out? And I defamed you, and I assisted other people in defaming you, and that was bad. I shouldn't have done that. I know things were going wrong, and I just couldn't speak up about it. And it ends with the influencer trying to find the diamond, and the young Irish ruffian priest has hidden the diamond inside the heart of the Jesus in the crucifix he built for the church. Which, if you understand Catholic theology, is a terrible place to hide a diamond. Because the Sacred Heart of Jesus is,
I was gonna say, you want to fill me in on that particular one, because that one was eluding me. I was actually going to propose that if people need a better depiction of Catholicism, please watch the Boondock Saints.
The Sacred Heart of Christ is a major Catholic symbol.
Right.
So putting a reddish diamond inside the chest cavity of a Jesus on a cross, that's literally the worst place you could hide something. So that was Wake the Dead. And I feel like Rian Johnson should know he doesn't have any more ideas for this setting. Maybe he'll let somebody else make something in this setting. Or maybe he'll say, golly gee willikers, Netflix is going to be kind of bound up for a little bit, so maybe I shouldn't make another one of these movies until I have a good idea.
Or maybe, since he apparently has never had a good idea, maybe he'll say, you know what? I've got enough money and enough prostitutes. Maybe I'll just retire.
No, that's not what's going to happen.
Oh, no, I know it's not going to happen, but I can hope, man. I can live in hope.
So, any other thoughts or questions or curiosities you have?
Questions about this? No, but it does lead me into an interesting segue that you will then lead us off into something else. Very new, if you didn't know, Mr. Beast has a cartoon. I didn't know this, and I didn't care, but somebody was going to show me a review of it, and I was like, wait a minute, why are we watching some dink on the internet? Because it was a dink. Let's just watch the damn thing. And they were like, I don't want that in my feed. You run it. So I'm like, fine, I'll run it. I don't give a shit. So I ran the first episode, which is all of 3 minutes long. Because Mr. Beast claims that he always wanted to do cartoons. Because of course he did. He's always said he wants to always have done everything that he does. And it's like, oh wow, there are 9 episodes. So we'll watch the first one. We'll see if this is any good. And if it is, I'll keep watching. No, I watched 1 episode. I am considered a prince and a monster because I watched 1 episode, whereas the person I was watching it with was begging me to stop after 15 seconds. Because you recall how you were saying that you have to be watching Rian Johnson's work very closely or you'll miss all the stuff because everything happens very quickly?
That was the way he shot it, yes.
Yeah. I want you to imagine that on Fent. I want you to imagine that on a bunch of meth. Okay? Mr. Beast tried to not world building, but just spasmodically jumped from one subject and one quippy one-liner to the next for 3 minutes in visual diarrhea. That was a cartoon based on his Mr. Beast Lab concept. And then, just to twist the knife a bit, right? It's terrible animation. I'm serious question. Do you know how animation works on a fundamental level?
You put together a series of images in
Yep.
succession, and that creates the illusion of movement and depth of field and all those sorts of things.
Right. So do you know why it is that sometimes you get animations that they're moving, but they seem to be really slow in how they move?
Because they're cutting money.
Well, yes, but what's actually going on is it's the number of frames animated,
Mhm.
right? If you add more frames, animation becomes more fluid and more quick.
And more
If you
expensive.
Right, but if you add less frames, it moves more slowly because there's less total movement.
I remember old 70s cartoons. I understand this concept.
Right. Mr. Beast has this mile a minute cartoon which was clearly written by a spaz. It makes no sense. Because remember, this is your introductory episode. This is your start. You need to hook people and you need them to be interested. Okay? I have no idea who anyone is. I have no idea what's going on. I'm
Mhm.
not interested to find out more. And on top of everything, the animation is sluggish. It is choppy.
Well, that's a bad time.
But Mr. Beast has more money than God. How could he not afford to animate better than that?
Well, I mean,
Because clearly he didn't. Because he didn't give a shit.
the obvious answer, Joe, is he didn't want to pay that money. That's
Right.
how he got all his money, is by being a cheap ass.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the allegations against Mr. Beast with, not using proper safety standards and all that.
I had not actually, although I do recall there was a recent thingamus about how he had a challenge in which he put a bunch of people in a burning house and then challenged them to escape.
Yeah, and he's also, not provided proper medical stuff, reclassified people as independent contractors who weren't legally independent contractors, so he didn't have to provide them with certain categories of medical care. The
So
usual.
it's not just the smile. He is a psychopath.
I mean, he covered up for one of his co-creators allegedly providing pornography to a child.
Lovely. Because see that was the thing that I said. My associate was like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want this in my feed. And I was like, look, man, the advantage I have here is that I just don't have to actually see Mr. Beast's face.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why I don't get into this Mr. Beast stuff. You know, the reason that I haven't tracked it to understand it is because, quite frankly, I see that smiling face, and all I can think of is how much I want to hit him in it. I want to smash his teeth
I mean,
with
the
a
Germans.
baseball bat.
I mean, the Germans made a word for punchable face because of people like Mr. Beast.
Right. But it's just the sheer artificiality of that smile. See, the thing is that when I see that smile, I think of another guy from the internet. I think of Jacksepticeye.
Hmm.
The thing is that while Jacksepticeye is being a character, Jacksepticeye is a real human being.
Mhm.
Right? He's an affable dude. He presents silly on the internet, and then when he's done with that, he goes and he lives his life. Right? I don't think Mr. Beast ever turns off being Mr. Beast. I think he is entirely off mask. He is that level of
Mhm.
grinning lunatic.
His mother, who is his chief operating officer and his chief HR officer,
Right.
was a former colonel in military logistics for the Department of Defense.
Okay.
To give you an idea of the sort of corporate governance Mr. Beast has for his stuff.
I mean, I had a friend whose mom was a former Army Corps of Engineers. That doesn't generally translate to much, but I'm assuming what you're implying is that all of this is very artificial and rigorously controlled.
Yes, and very, very legally structured.
Hmm.
But speaking of legal structures, we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about the netpocalypse. Netflix is buying Warner Brothers? Question mark.
We also need to have a quiet minute at some point,
Yes,
for just a minute,
we're
or we
gonna
can
do
do
that at
that
the
later.
close. We're gonna do that
Later,
at the close.
yeah.
So have you paid attention to what's happened with Warner Brothers?
They may or may not be being bought out by Saudi Arabia.
Well, it's a little bit more and less complicated than that.
Yeah.
So the Ellison family, who owns Paramount, wanted to buy Warner Brothers. They wanted to buy Warner Brothers before they bought Paramount, but Warner wasn't for sale.
Yeah.
And then they bought Paramount, and they had enough money to leverage, and they said, "Hey, we're going to buy up your company, Warner
Right.
Brothers." And Warner Brothers is like, "We'd rather you not." And then they forced the company to, under corporate governance statutes, to open it up to bids because somebody offered a legitimate bid, and there were several bids. The three primary ones were Comcast Universal,
Yep.
Netflix, and Paramount. Netflix presented the winning bid. Now,
Yeah.
first things first, this is going to be a very complicated regulatory framework, even under our current quote unquote less rigorous regulatory framework. There are lots of problems. There's the Netflix proposal, in part, goes with the previous Warner plan to spin off all of the less profitable elements of the company with all of their debt and create a single company,
Right.
which would be acquired by Netflix. That is a big regulatory problem on the US side. On the European side, Sky News, which Sky Cable, which is owned by Comcast, has a very strong hold in the United Kingdom as well as the rest of Europe over cable systems, over cable broadcasting rights.
Right.
And they do this in part because they have a partnership with Warner for releasing Warner Media content in Europe. So if this goes through, you're basically caving in most of the cable television that people in Europe enjoy. So there's going to be complicated regulatory issues involving the European Union. So
Right.
this is a 1 to 2 year process, maybe a 1 to 3 year process, which has various consequences. Now, if Paramount's bid had won, there are several consequences. One, the combined company would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to $100 billion in debt.
Yeah.
And it did not have a successful vehicle to shed the debt. More importantly, that bid would involve the involvement of the Saudi, the Emirati, and the Qatari state investment funds, which would be a huge national security issue because what most people don't know is that our government is in the propaganda business with Hollywood.
Right.
And there are all sorts of regulations about this. While we've had foreign companies buy up our movie studios from time to time, we have not had a foreign government buy it. And while you can argue,
A
well,
a
well,
foreign government that claims to be our allies and is objectively not.
although they do ally with us in our show more on some of our perspectives about modern pop culture media, which gets a little weird. And we might, if things play out a certain way, talk about that. So that bid would also have had significant regulatory hurdles. The problem for movie theaters is, well, the number of studios putting out regular movies goes down, which means there's even less reason to go into movie studios. Now, Netflix has said they would be releasing content under the Warner label.
Right.
Amazon has done the same with MGM, though it's not a lot of content. And Amazon has at least expressed a willingness to change up their business model. There is a secondary consequence of note. If this goes through, and reasonably after this goes through, in a couple of years, the combined company would be $1 trillion company. which means Apple and Disney would be in a situation where they would both feel the need to form the merger they have always talked about doing.
So the thing is, it's not that I don't care. Obviously, this is all very important. My actual ability to change it or inform on it is limited because I'm just a normie. But the thing is that none of this surprises me.
No.
The only thing that's different, the only thing that really changes it up and makes it an interesting conversation piece, is the global nature of what's going on.
Well, we're
I've
going to drill down into a couple of other interesting pieces here,
well,
but
because I've mentioned before that
consolidation
right,
has been a thing.
businesses fall apart, businesses come together. This consolidation process started in the 70s when we started seeing more corporations after years of individual companies.
Yes.
This is just the apex, the crown of a process.
Yes. And this process is part of why we have slop factories that we do in the studio system.
Right.
Now, drilling down for a moment, President Trump was personally lobbied by the head of Netflix to not be negative to his bid because the Ellison family are political allies of his. And he
Right.
stated that YouTube has a bigger content library than the combined Warner and Netflix content library would have. And one of the things that Netflix would be doing is they would be taking all of the content of Warner Brothers, all of their existing content that they own outright, and running it all through their AI. And the Ellison family are also largely into AI. So there's an argument to be made that this is a play about who can digitize movies into AI and come up with a solution to make your own AI movies, where
Right.
you can make a Bing Crosby and Bob Hope sequel to Lethal Weapon. Now, the video AI is nowhere near that and possibly may never be near that. But that is, at least in today's business environment, a not unrealistic strategy. So, if this happens, and if Apple feels the need to come in and buy Disney, or Disney feels the need to marry itself to Apple, you could see Google coming in and buying Paramount. All of this being a giant AI play. So these are some of the things, but let's drill down into things that are more interesting to the people in our audience. Let's talk about comics.
Okay.
Warner runs itself under a business model that's kind of antiquated for comics. And while the most likely outcome is Netflix will not make major changes for like a decade in the management of DC Comics, here's the reality. Netflix is a movie and television business.
Pardon me.
Each and every comic book run is a spec script. A spec script that people pay them for. So it's a business expense that you could sell to people, and a business expense that you could sell to people that will also push up your licensing. So there's a possibility we may get a much better management structure that's actually sustainable and healthy for DC Comics.
Right.
Number one. Number two, John Palmietti mentioned on Twitter that he had pitched to DC Comics for years ideas based on properties that Warner owned and that DC Comics turned it down. Like, I want you to imagine a prestige format graphic novel of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. That would sell. That would sell out massively. A prestige format graphic novel run of the Mad Max movies. That would sell, right?
Yeah.
You could think of all sorts of iconic Warner Brothers properties that would sell if you applied that treatment. And there's a distinct possibility Netflix may do that. They may do that to generate corporate synergies to say, hey, Clint's dead. We we agreed it would be grotesque to do it while he was still alive. What if we make a Dirty Harry movie? What if we reboot Dirty Harry? Let's let's push out a comic book and see how we can color outside the lines of Dirty Harry.
Oh, I mean, I even know what they call that series.
Hmm.
You'd think they'd call it Dirty Harry, right?
No, they wouldn't do that.
Do you,
That'd be
do you know? No, no. Do you know what they actually call it?
what would they call it?
Man of Action.
They
Do you know
can't call
why?
they can't call it Man of Action because that's a different comic book character.
It's not. So
Really?
yeah, so there is a Man of Action comic book, and that is a different character. You're correct. But after the release of Dirty Harry the film, there were a series of like Penguin book uh uh paperbacks that were Dirty Harry expanded universe, all under the header Man of Action. He wasn't called Dirty Harry. It was just the Man of Action series.
Well, that's neat. I didn't know.
Right. So if you can work the legal quagmire there, you just bring back that naming structure, and you now have the that gravitas that production's always looking for. It's like, we're not a new property, we've got legacy.
Also, as an alternative strategy for comics, what they could do is they could license out new comic production for characters to things like Boom and Dynamite and all of that. And then they could
Who,
just
mind you, I want to say it's Dynamite, did Man with No Name books. So they have
yes.
an experience with basically Clint adjacent material.
And they could just do the DC Comics reprints. They could just do those because they already own everything. All they have to do is just hit the printer button and ship those out to people, and those are selling well
Now,
already.
now having said that, I want to be the Debbie Downer and say this is also why I don't want this.
Well, yeah.
Because you and I know what would happen. So people may not remember, or they do remember because they're lore nerds like us. Batman was a failing book.
Mhm.
And so they grabbed Jim Gordon, a successful knockoff Dick Tracy, right? And they said we're gonna transport this character to Gotham City. It's gonna boost sales for Batman by having Jim Gordon, the detective, go after the bat. And it worked out famously. And Jim Gordon has become a pillar of bat lore. You can't have good Batman books without him. Right?
Mhm.
In that same sense, as well as I am sitting here, we're talking about it, while I would totally be down for a DC Comics presents, Callahan and Gordon as like a one-off, right? Where it's just going to be a
Mhm.
cop story, but it's going to be James Gordon and Dirty Harry. That would be neat. That's not what they'll do. What they'll do is Dirty Harry Batman, and it will be trash because comics can't help themselves.
Mhm. But we also have the Warner video games that they
Right.
might spin off, but they might not. And also, depending on how they settle the legal issues in Europe, what they might do is they might give Universal's theme park division a really good deal on all of the DC properties for branding issues in theme parks. They would have to wait for the settlement of some of the stuff with Six Flags and like dealing with contracts and all of that. But those are some realistic prospects we could see out of all this. But also, another interesting thing that could happen is Netflix has a cell phone app. DC Comics could easily get ported onto there as an add on to the cell phone app. You could get the whole library of comics as well as your other entertainment media all in one nice bite sized piece. So, uh, that's sort of the big entertainment news story is the merger. We don't know how the merger is going to fall out, but it's very interesting because of all the different permutations of how things could go into place. Like The Paramount deal allegedly was basically that each one of the Saudi, Emirati, and Qatari investment funds was going to get one franchise that they were going to have stewardship over. So, like, there could be a Zack Snyder bro in Saudi Arabia that would reboot the Snyderverse. That could have been a thing. That would be one of the most bizarre things ever. There could be a guy in the United Arab Emirates who wants to be the guy in charge of the Mission Impossible franchise stuff. So these are very big companies. These are very complicated companies, and maybe, just maybe, well, I am a Republican of a libertarian orientation, and I don't believe in a lot of dumb government regulations. Maybe we should have at least tried some smart regulations earlier, because the long-term decline of the health of the movie industry has been a problem for some time. The fact that the largest movie theater chain in the United States is owned by a Chinese communist entity is an issue that muddles with the movie theaters. And while there was a time where antitrust protections preventing the ownership of theaters and movie companies existed, maybe that should go away as a way to help bolster some of these weaker movie companies and these theater chains. I think the government should, you know, do their goddamn job and put some regulations and some laws into place so things don't spiral horribly out of control.
Well, 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 Larry, Larry, if anything has been sold to me since 2016, it is, of course, the idea that deregulation is rightist and regulation is leftist. Therefore, that's commie talk.
I mean, it is, but at a certain point, you do have to say, hey, listen, maybe if your company has two zeros in a single digit and it's in the billions in your debt, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to merge. Maybe
Well,
that's not going to lead to a healthy company.
it's because Larry, you and I, in fact, know that it's not commie talk. That the actual thing here is that dichotomy is just a mechanism of exploitation by elites who find it useful to break us up into tribes so that we're not
Mhm.
paying attention to things like that. Sometimes a certain amount of well thought out regulation is a vitally necessary component to a healthy society.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Warner Brothers is being consumed by a company that begged Blockbuster Video to buy them because Warner Brothers couldn't get the DC Comics universe to make them money when comic book movies were making all the money in the world.
Right.
This is something they're
Because
going to be teaching in business school for decades to come.
because the actual problem that's not being addressed is that there is a actually I'm gonna take a sidestep here. Do you recall back in the 90s there was a film called Fun and Dick and Jane?
Yes.
And you recall that that film was about something that was actually very timely because it was going on, which was the mass firing of the middle management class and the number of people who literally lost their jobs overnight due to the internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Uh
I remember.
those executives who sidestepped that because of their wealth are still around. And
Hmm.
now that they have, sacrificed on the toast of fires of hell their middle management who were keeping their companies going because that was what middle management did, even though there was indeed a lot of middle management that was absolute waste because shitty middle managers would, by the same token, profit off of the sweat, labor, and suffering of blue collar labor and lower class white collar that made the business work. Uh, the problem here is how many absolutely trash executives are working at Warner Brothers who kept piling bad decision upon bad decision with no consequences because they always had the golden parachute of we increased money, so now we're going to get out and to go to a different business to be bad there.
Well, that's the fun part, is the guy who's currently leading Warner Brothers, no matter who buys the company, he's going to end up making a shit ton of money off of the deal. So he also participated in running the company in the ground. He can at least make an argument. Things were finally starting to turn around this year until lunatics bought the company.
Right.
But either way, he's going to make a shit ton of money off of this. So
Right.
actually running an effective company isn't what gave this man a profit.
That's what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
Is these corporate raiders are actually in some fashion worse than the cultural vandals, even though they are both equally bad, because the vultures at least tend to get their comeuppance when you look at it.
Mhm.
Right? The raiders get rewarded to do it again.
Now, there is another element to this story, a conspiratorial element to this story.
Oh wait, I'm not wearing enough tinfoil?
You are not wearing enough tinfoil, no.
Okay.
So Paramount never wanted to buy Warner Brothers. It wanted to force Netflix to buy Warner Brothers and then get bogged down in 2 to 3 years worth of regulatory red tape, preventing them from making long-term strategic decisions while they were rebuilding Paramount Studios. And it only cost them $6 billion to do that.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true, and it equally applies to Netflix in this situation because Paramount is planning to do a hostile bid offer to the board of directors. But there's also a weird wrestling angle. Temporarily, once this merger goes through, AEW and WWE will both be broadcast by the same company. But again, this all depends on how exactly they do the spinning off of assets. They may spin AEW off into the husk company that has billions of dollars of debt, which may try to get out of its billions of dollars in deals that it's made to AEW. There's going to be lots of bad business decisions people are going to be paying for. So, a bro of an actor died. Let me see if I can find a tribute video for him.
Oh, the tribute video would be great. I didn't have a tribute video. I just had the announcement. There were a couple other interesting things we could mention while you're looking. Did you see the couple of things I added today to the chat just recently?
We'll get to those in a minute, but I want to.
Okay.
I found a good tribute
All right.
video. It's
All
about
right.
2
Cool.
minutes.
All
So
right.
we'll put this up here. Because we do want to honor a legendary talent, a man who had been acting for years and in a healthier movie industry. Could have been an established action star.
And in matter of point, I have an interesting story about after we watch this thing. Like a role that he was in that I bet 90% of people don't know he was in, kind of deal.
He was in that excellent movie with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah.
Welcome. You're here to compete in Mortal Kombat. Tomorrow morning, the great combat begins. You're all witnesses to one of the greatest turning points in the history of your planet.
What tournament?
You've been chosen, Sonya. Much to my delight. And now for a taste of things to come. Kang, you will be first. Your brother's soul is mine. You will be next. Let Mortal Kombat begin. It has begun! Finish him!
Your soul is mine. You will die.
Flawless victory. Are you that eager to die?
I'm not the one who's gonna die.
You're very foolish. A true sign of a hero. You're not alone. You want to protect your friends? But make no mistake. They too will die. As absurd as your request is, I shall grant it. In return, I reserve the right to challenge the winner myself, or another of my choosing, in a place designated by me for the final battle of the tournament. The rules are quite clear. It's how do you say? A deal's a deal. Treasure these moments as if they were your last.
Not the best tribute, but a tribute nonetheless.
It was a tribute video focused on the role that has a strong connection to people.
It does. So here's the thing. Mortal Kombat was my introduction to this actor. Okay. And I did see him in other things he had been in. So like I found out that he was in Big Trouble in
Little China.
Little Tokyo.
Oh, okay.
With Dolph Lundgren, not with Kurt Russell. He was in Diary of or Memoirs of a Geisha, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was in a lot of things. Some of them very important, like very serious. He was apparently in Last Emperor, although that's not one of my favorite movies.
Last Emperor is a very interesting movie.
It was one of my dad's favorite movies, but never really grabbed me. It was just a very long, sad historical.
But he was in Rising Sun with Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery, which is a Michael Crichton joint.
But he was also in a lot of smaller movies, or had smaller roles in a bunch of movies that a lot of people don't know. For instance, he was in Punisher Warzone. Mm-hmm. He has a one-line presence in Warzone before he gets shot to pieces by bad guys as playing a bad guy.
He was in the Netflix Blue Eye Samurai series.
Yep. And he actually reprised his role as Shang Tsung in the online Mortal Kombat Legacy series. He's in a very good episode opposite the original actor for Liu Kang. Mm. It's just amazing. But that is not my favorite role. Okay. Like I said, an interesting story. My favorite role for him, he's in The Phantom.
Nice.
So you watch The Phantom, and it's got Zane, and it's got Treat Williams, and it's got the Heavy, and they're the primary character loop throughout. At the tail end, they end up at a mysterious island that's not on any map, where the Sang Brotherhood holds a fortress, right? And the Phantom has to sneak in because he's got to save the girls, save the skulls, save the world, fight the bad guys. And the bad guys are being brought in by the most Disney-like accoutrement of pirates. So the big pirate boat, and there's a moat with crocodiles and eels.
He was also in John Carpenter's Vampires.
I missed him in that one. Was he one of the vampires?
He was one of the vampire hunters, I think.
But so the Treat Williams is brought into the presence of Kabai Sang, the evil leader of the Sang Brotherhood, and it's this guy. it's Shang Tsung, and he knows he's in a shit movie. I want to be clear. I love The Phantom. It's a great movie. But he knows it's not going to do well. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he knows it's not going to appeal to a wide audience. So he just he just goes for the fences. He chews the scenery. He knows he is a ridiculous character in a ridiculous movie and exactly what is needed of him, and it is amazing because it is a great actor having fun in a small part. It's so good, and because he's a trained martial artist, he and Zane going back and forth in a sword fight is also pretty good to watch.
Yeah.
Great. It's not just that he's some great talent. We're not just poking on it because we need a feed for the show. It's like, no, this guy is one of those working actors. We talk about working actors and character actors on the show a lot that did roles in a lot of the things that we like.
And some of the stuff is a case of, well, I need to do some work to get keep my SAG card active.
But it was always I kind of cannot recall to mind a film he was in that was bad.
They're all fun films.
Well, yeah, when I say bad, I mean I'm like I can't think of a situation where I looked at him and said this guy is phoning it in, or he's not doing his utmost, or he's not being a professional.
So we're gonna end the show with some discussion of what's going to be the next big movie that I'm going to review for the show.
Well, I was actually going to propose that we could end the show. We're going off from talking about one actor, talking about another actor. Are you familiar with the Scooby-Doo thing?
Which Scooby-Doo thing?
So Quentin Tarantino apparently came out and talked shit.
Oh yeah, Matthew Lillard is an actor.
About Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard has responded, and he didn't respond attacking Quentin Tarantino for being a shit. He basically just said what Quentin Tarantino said was hurtful, and then laid out how hard this man has worked. And I actually pulled up his filmography.
Oh yeah,
he is Shaggy. He has worked so much in the industry. He has been working since 1991. He was in Ghoulies 3. Yeah. And he was in Scream, and he was of course Shaggy in the Back in Action. But then he was the voice of Shaggy in a bunch of stuff. He's been in video games. He's been in TV. This man is a hard-working actor who deserves some respect. And he basically just said it is shitty to get called out by some Hollywood luminary who would never do that specifically, he uses an example, to Tom Cruise. You'd never shit-talk some important somebody. You punch down at a hard-working character actor.
No offense to Matthew Lillard, Tom Cruise is a better actor when he's in a movie that actually demands it of him.
Right. No. What he's saying though is not wrong, which is Quentin Tarantino is not going to shit talk Tom Cruise because Tom Cruise has the juice. He can make it difficult for Quentin.
I think realistically, a better thing for Matthew Lillard is saying, yeah, but Quentin, you've taken actors who didn't really, a lot of people didn't think had it. You've given them material that made people say, oh yeah, this guy can act. Right. You ever think maybe I've not been in that many good projects?
Right.
Because that's a whole other.
Has it ever occurred to you that maybe the reason I've been Shaggy for over 20 roles was because I'm really good at it and they keep giving me the job?
And now he's the bad guy in
Five Nights, which is where we started.
Yeah, that's pretty good poetry. And I don't want to discuss the latest stupid thing that James Cameron said with the time we had left, because while it is very stupid what he said, it needs more than a minute. It needs more than a minute for it to cook.
Yeah, there's a couple of things we're going to talk about probably next show when we actually have more people, if we have more people, that we'll dig into. But we got, it's a little show for a little thing. We can talk about the clip of Silent Night, Deadly Night some other time.
And
but what was your thing? You said you had a thing for end of show that you were gonna do, and then I segued off. So
I was going to talk about James Cameron, but we don't have the time for that. So good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Doot. Come on, there we go.